Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Hope you're doing well. I've got good news for you. I'm doing a fragrance video today about things that everyone loves. Fragrances that are getting more expensive and harder to find. Oh wait, no, that's the opposite of what people want. So today I'm going to be talking about 5 fragrances, at least at discounters, that are getting more expensive and seem to be out of stock more often than they were in the past. So yeah, more expensive at discounters. Obviously, their retail price is the exact same as it's ever been. So let's jump into it and let's check these fragrances out that are, for one reason or another, getting a little more expensive. Now I want to make it clear before we jump into this that I'm not telling you guys each one of these fragrances is discounted, the world is ending, the sky is falling, and you have to go buy them right now or else you'll never be able to get them. I'm not saying that. Although that is a good way to drive hype to fragrances, obviously. Yeah. What's that, Olivier Creed? Aventus is discontinued? Whew. And while I'm not telling you these are discontinued, I am telling you that I've noticed over the past months or maybe the past year or so that the price has been steadily increasing at discounters for each one of these scents. And yes, some of them have been a lot harder to find. They've been going out of stock for months at a time. Then they come back in stock, they sell out, and they're gone again for who knows how long. All right, all that out of the way, that's a lot of talk without actually showing any fragrances. First one up, Ferragamo Uomo. And I've talked about this in a couple videos here recently about how this has been going up in price and it has been harder to find. And actually, I would say in general, that's the entire Ferragamo Uomo line. Used to be you could find all of the fragrances in the Uomo line, and most of them were right at about 30 bucks. Some were under. Some you could pick up for $24, $25. That does not appear to be the case anymore though. These fragrances have been sold out a lot. This one and this one, Uomo Signature, especially have been difficult to find. Now, as of this video, and actually all the fragrances here obviously are as of this video when I tell you the pricing, you can find Uomo for in the low 40s to about $50 at discounters. Now, that's not really expensive, for sure. And there are lots of fragrances out there much, much more expensive than that. But when you consider that you could find Ferragamo Uomo everywhere for about $25, suddenly 50 bucks doesn't look so great, because you're talking about double the price that you used to be able to find it for at every discounter in the US. Now sure, some of these fragrances you can find on a random site here or there for less than these prices, but I'm just quoting you the prices from the major discounters in the US, FragranceNet, FragranceX. This has tiramisu, tonka, cardamom, and ambroxan. It's a great compliment pulling fragrance, fantastic for fall and winter. It's got a sweet coffee feel to it that's very appealing and inviting. And for the longest time, Ferragamo Uomo, for me, was one of the best bang for your buck fragrances you could find. At about 45 bucks though, it's not as great of a bang for your buck. Still a sick fragrance though. I think it smells great. This next one has gone up a bunch. Now, it was never super cheap. It wasn't a fragrance you could pick up for 20 bucks or 25 bucks, but you could pretty consistently find it for about 35 or 40. It's Carolina Herrera CH Privé. This fragrance now is gonna run you between $80 and $90 at discounters. So, big difference. It's got whiskey, cardamom, leather, and tonka as some of the notes in the fragrance. This one is a boozy, sweet leather fragrance. This is not that dirty leather, really smoky leather, hardcore, rough around the edges leather. That's not what you got here. This is more of a date night, evening out, sexy sort of leather scent. And when this one came out, Carolina Herrera was riding pretty high. CH Privé, everybody seemed to enjoy. CH Men that came out before this also was really well received. And most of the limited edition fragrances that they were putting out around this time were also really well received. Fast forward, and now Carolina Herrera is pushing Bad Boy. Most of their limited edition fragrances are not very good, and a lot of the flankers coming out of the 212 line are also terrible, yeah. I was trying to think of a nice way to say that, and yeah, couldn't come up with anything. So it's almost like CH Privé is from a different era of Carolina Herrera. An era when Carolina Herrera announced something and people were actually interested. And nowadays that one keeps slowly creeping up in price. Next up, let's go with an Azzaro Chrome Pure. This one I always enjoyed. Thought it was kind of an interesting offshoot of the Chrome line. It doesn't really smell exactly like any of the Chromes that came before it, so I enjoy that it's a little bit different. It's got tonka, it has a mate note, an aquatic note, and mandarin orange. It's got a nice semi-creamy sort of sweetness to it, but it's still very fresh and clean, fantastic for spring and summer. And this before Chrome, and this one right along with Chrome Aqua probably, some of my very favorite fragrances in the entire Chrome line. This one, like Ferragamo Uomo, was pretty affordable when it first came out and hit discounters. You could find it right about that $30 range, sometimes a little less. Now it's not gone up astronomically in price, but it's gonna run you somewhere in the mid 40s if you wanna pick this up now. And this one, like Uomo, as I mentioned, was available everywhere in terms of discounters, and then sold out. And I didn't know if it was gonna come back or not. And here over the past few weeks, it has popped back up once again at discounters. So I'm not for sure with that one. You know, it could sell out again and be gone for another 6 months, or it could be there for the next 2 years on discounters. I really don't know. Next up, another fragrance that I love that I've talked about a bunch, and this is another one that for fall and wintertime and early spring, I would talk about as a great bang for your buck scent, Barbados Vintage. I love the way Barbados Vintage smells. I think it is amazing. Big compliment puller. Performance could be a little bit better, but I'll let it slide. In cool weather, this is one of my favorite designer scents. And for the longest time, you could find this for under 30 bucks, either in the 2.5 ounce bottle or 4.2 ounce. It was never a very expensive scent. As of now though, it's going for between $45 and $49 or so. So this is another one that has slowly crept up a little bit. It's not doubling in price, but it is slowly on the rise, and it's no longer one of those fragrances that you can say, hey man, if you have 30 bucks, pick this up. As tobacco, suede, and cinnamon along with rhubarb as some of the notes in the fragrance, and the rhubarb is really what sets it off for me, because that's a note that I think is underutilized. You don't see it all that often, and it's pulled off very well here. Gives a really nice contrast to the sweeter spices, the tobacco, and the leather. Obviously with Barbados, there's been a lot of talk over the past year or so with them filing for bankruptcy. People didn't know if all the fragrances were just going to go away, you know, just be killed off completely. Then they came out with some new releases. So it would appear that Barbados is good and that the fragrances are here to stay until they're not. Obviously, nobody knows exactly when any fragrance is gonna catch the axe. Okay, last fragrance on this list. It is from Bulgari, and it is Man in Black. Now this one is more of a slow creep upward. It's not one that suddenly jumped. You know, it's not one of those fragrances that sold out, and then when it came back in stock, suddenly the price had gone way up and you were like, oh, what happened? Like, I just looked 2 months ago and this stuff was half the price it is. That's not how this one has worked. This one has very slowly over the years gone upward in price. On the low end, you can find this for about 45 bucks. On the high end, somewhere in the low 60s. This fragrance always gets compared to Spice Bomb by Viktor and Rolf, and there's definitely a similarity between the two scents. As soon as you spray this on, you'll be able to pick that up. You'll go, oh yeah, okay, I get the spice bomminess here. And for the longest time, this was pitched as the inexpensive alternative to Spice Bomb. So if you wanted something that was close to Spice Bomb, but not really a direct clone, and something that was also from a well-known house, you would get Man in Black, because it's from a well-known house in Bulgari, it's from a well-known perfumer in Alberto Maria's. It's good stuff. So it's not like you're sacrificing very much. You're still getting a really quality product, you're getting a similar vibe, just costs less. But it's not quite as inexpensive as it used to be. Now it is still cheaper than Spice Bomb. Spice Bomb's gonna run you low 60s to low 80s, depending on the size that you get. So it's still cheaper than that, but it's not as cheap as it used to be. Like most all the fragrances here, this one you used to be able to find in that $30 range, low 30s, sometimes a little bit below. So it's a fragrance that's gone up roughly 50% in terms of the cost. This one has spices, rum, tobacco, leather, and tonka as some of the notes of the fragrance. And a really simple way to think of this fragrance is Spice Bomb DNA with added boozy sweetness. Obviously, that's not the only difference, but that's the quickest and easiest way to kind of describe it. Like Spice Bomb, big compliment puller, big attention grabber. It's got good performance and it's fantastic in cool weather. And now, ever so slowly, that price has been going up. And there are lots of other fragrances that have been creeping up in price that I didn't include here. And I'd like you guys to comment below and just tell me some of the fragrances that you've noticed going up. Maybe you checked a fragrance one day and it was at a certain price, and then you came back 3 months later and checked it again and suddenly it was up 20 bucks or 30 bucks. So let me know in the comments below some of those fragrances that you've noticed creeping up. All right guys, that's gonna do it for me. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for all your support. Stay safe out there. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.